What's up, everyone? So sometimes you got to do a project just for the sake of doing it. And over the last month, I've been working on building this cedar table with a rebar base. And this project for me was kind of a way to just get into the flow and do something just for the sake of doing it, kind of with a build as you go mentality. Today's video, I'm going to share with you the entire start to finish process of this build and some things I learned along the way. So welcome to Kirsten Engerbauer Studio. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So during the design and planning phase of this project, I was really focused on the beauty of the wood itself and how whatever base I made for it could really talk to kind of the form and the vibrancy of this piece of wood. And I went through a lot of different ideas at first, like as to what form the base could be, but I knew I wanted it to be made out of steel. And so I came up with the idea of bending the entire table base out of one or two pieces of rebar, just like a continuous bend, so that it would almost look like a sketch of a table, but in 3 dimensions. And so that was kind of what drove the beginning of this project, and really the entire project was in this spirit and in this energy of just kind of talking with the form of the cedar. Once I had this beautiful slab, I needed a way to surface it and flatten it so that it would be, workable for all the machines and especially work as a table. So I decided to use the CNC router that I have access to at work, and I had to tape off all these holes so that the vacuum suction would actually hold down the board. This table happens to be equipped with a vacuum hold down system, which is really, really nice. I was able to program the surfacing bit to run this operation, and this was something I've never done before. That was super exciting to learn in this process, and it's a new skill that I can, take with me. This produced a really nice finish. I took off about a 32nd of an inch at a time, and it did a lot of layers to get down through about a 1/2 inch of difference in height. The room smelled amazing when this was done because it was cedar sawdust, so it was just really bright and aromatic. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with the result on this. I decided to take the other side and flip it and run it through the planer, but I definitely could have run the flip side of this job on the CNC router to flatten the back side. But overall, it turned out really well. After the slab was flat, it was time to work on the base. The next phase of the project was to create the base that I had sketched out of rebar, and I really wanted the base to encapsulate a sketch and the feeling of just this continuous line drawing of what a table base should look like. So I used the oxyacetylene torch for the majority of the build. Essentially, it was a lot of just heating one small individual area and then making the bend, and then seeing where kind of the next bend needed to lie. In the end of the day, knowing the form that I had in mind, but kind of having to zoom into each individual moment and really just make a judgment call. What does this steel need to be to hold and support this cedar top, and how does it need to curve so that it matches the curves in the wood grain? That's something I'm going to take with me from this project into future things, is it's okay to just be intuitive and make a move and then decide what to do after, instead of planning everything to death. Overall, I'm really happy with how this base turned out, but I'm also excited to practice this process more and get better at doing the torch bending and really making the shapes that I want to make.
No.
The CNC plasma cutting process was really fun. It's one of my favorite machines to use that I have access to. I love to make custom brackets for things, and in fact on this run I cut out about 4 times the amount of brackets that I needed, just so I'd have some extras lying around. Brackets allow me to use threaded inserts to bolt the cedar to the base and do that in a clean and also really strong way that has a lot of durability over time. Once I had made the table base and I had the top ready, it was almost perfect, but I had a little bit of an imbalance in the way that the steel sat on the cedar. It was a little bit not level, my steel, one corner dipped down. I decided to improvise, and I used an angle grinder to basically grind out channels where the rebar needed to sit in the deeper spots. And what that allowed me to do was have the tabletop kind of sit level and appear level, even though it wasn't actually built to perfection. And so this was another instance of kind of rolling with the mistakes and just making the mistakes work for this very particular situation. I sanded the entire thing to 320, and luckily cedar is really soft, and so although the sanding took a while, it didn't take as long as I expected. But here's the final fit up, prior to finishing and hardware and all that. So I was ultimately really happy once it kind of sat down into those grooves. I felt like, it was really a nice touch. I was really happy with like how it just kind of hugged and held that cedar board in place. Once the top was sanded and the base was done and the brackets were welded on, it was time to move on to the finishing of the tabletop. I had to get this money shot because everybody knows that the finishing video is like the best that woodworking videos can get. But yeah, it was really satisfying to like apply the finish and have it go on so beautifully and bring out kind of this rainbow orange and purple and yellow kaleidoscope of colors that were in the cedar. This was wipe-on poly, by the way, like a warm satin. And I ended up doing about 5 coats and buffing it with steel wool in between each one. So the final finish was like really strong and really durable. Finally, I had to drill holes, attach threaded inserts, and then screw that hardware in. I did this so that I would have a place to attach the rebar base to the cedar. Now, I will say this process went less than perfect. I didn't realize quite how soft the cedar was going to be, and I ended up chipping out a couple of the wood grains around the holes. So that was a disappointing kind of moment for this project, but in the future I'm going to definitely test and workshop some solutions for using these inserts in soft wood. Once everything was together, I used just little hex bolts to bolt everything down, flipped it over for the first time fully assembled, and I was definitely, really happy overall with the results. And here are some final shots of the table for you. So if you're still here, thank you so much for sharing this journey with me to build this cedar side table. I had so much fun doing it, and this project truly taught me several things that I really wasn't expecting. The first one was that mistakes are going to happen and to think of them as favorite mistakes. Secondly, I learned that as a maker, we can do a lot with a little. Constraints are a good thing. And finally, have a build as you go mentality. Do things just for the sake of doing them. It's important to find that flow state as an artist and have little projects that fill your creative cup. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Kirsten Angerbauer Studio newsletter. I'm going to send a gift over to the first 100 people that sign up. Additionally, subscribe to the channel. It would certainly mean a lot if you did. Finally, stay safe, make beautiful things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
That worked. I mean, it's on there. May have had a minor catastrophe there at the end, but it all went together.